of the meeting.
Well, good afternoon to members of the Westland community, to our business leaders and guests. I'm Bruce Smith, the District Mayor, and today our guest speakers are the Under Secretary Fletcher Tabuta, who's going to act on behalf of the government and make some announcements that are in many ways they're going to change things in a number of areas in a very beneficial way. Alan Birchfield is unable to be here today, but he's Stu Challenger is representing him from Regional Council. Mike Meehan, the West Coast Regional Council Chief Executive, is here. I'd like to welcome Minister Damien O'Connor, who's here, and you can imagine the difficulties of being a minister in New Zealand at the current time. So really appreciate Damien the effort to get here, because it's not really easy. We have present also Mark Patterson, who for the last 3 years has been a bit of a regular visitor to the coast, and in many ways it's the intelligence that he's taken back from his many visits to his colleagues in Wellington that have resulted in the announcements that are going to be made today in relation to France. He won many hearts here when he turned up after the floods in March of 2019 with a couple of van loads of students from Telford. And I've got a photograph of him in his gumboots, mud over the gumboots, lammy on, and like pine tree means, he had a couple of fence posts over his they were true. It is true, and they were very small fence posts. And I can tell you, at the time, the rain was coming down at 1 inch an hour, and it kept doing it for 4 days. It just kept on going. So now it's my great pleasure to introduce to you Under Secretary Fletcher Tabuta, who is the Deputy Leader of New Zealand First. In 2017, when PGF came along, we were told we were a surge region, one of 5, and that there was a special commitment to the regions. This minister is no stranger to Westland. He was a guest speaker at the Arahura Marae for Waitangi Day, and we're hoping that he'll come back. He delivered a strong and quite thoughtful speech. Just weeks ago, the minister arrived and announced the successful granting of $18 million for the Punamu Trail project, and half of this project is in Westland. There's half in Haast and in Hokitika, the home of Punamu. Minister, on behalf of the people of Westland, it's a big welcome to you, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Bruce. Thank you, Mayor, for your warm introduction and your stories about my colleague Mark Patterson, because I do remember that, and it's nice to hear people acknowledge the efforts of politicians, because often it's all bad most of the time, especially for some further down south at the moment. Minister O'Connor, your words were so true, Mayor, because the commitments of a minister of the Crown in New Zealand are mammoth, and so to have you here, Damien, in your home territory, to be fair, speaks to the commitment to your local community. So I acknowledge you. And Mark, no fence posts on your shoulders this afternoon, but good to have you come along. As soon as the live feed went on, I said to Damien, well, I won't be making any jokes, but I just can't help myself. Look, I'm going to admit I'm quite exhausted. I came into the West Coast yesterday morning, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, with apologies from the Deputy Prime Minister, who has lost his voice and was unable to make the journey himself. So there were some people who were glad to hear that he'd lost his voice. But not if you were one of the ones waiting to hear about about his announcements today. So it's a privilege to be here on behalf of the Deputy Prime Minister, the leader of New Zealand First, the Right Honourable Winston Peters. And I say I'm a bit tired, it's because it's been a full couple of days. It's been a busy schedule, and it's been an amazing experience for me. To be honest, I'm grateful that the leader tapped me on the shoulder, because I have made a commitment to the West Coast, and my role is what you would understand as the Associate Minister of Regional Economic Development. That's not my title. I'm the Under-Secretary of Regional Economic Development, which is another tier down. But there isn't anyone in between me and Shane, so that's how to explain that. I made some announcements for Grey District, who will use infrastructure investment to replace 3 bridges this morning. Those 3 bridges were about enabling freight volumes, health and safety this morning. We also announced $13 million for KiwiRail funding for the Ormotor slip and slope stability, just to make sure that that Transalpine rail can get over the pass there and bring those tourists into the West Coast. Also visited the Greymouth station because the PGF, or Provincial Growth Fund funding, had allowed for a platform extension, which was beginning today, which means more people into the coast. I was in Westport yesterday to announce funding for the historic Hector landfill tidy up and fix up of that site there, and the bridge replacement of the Tidal Creek No. 2 bridge between Karamea and Bulla. And we also visited the previously funded Provincial Growth Fund projects on the Westport waterfront, the waterfront revitalisation projects, where they're taking the town back towards the water. So it's an exciting project there. And today, one of my favourite places here in the Hokitika, I've come here to announce what is, I would describe as a coordinated approach. Mr. Mayor, an approach by the region's district councils to identify and work together to prioritise projects that will contribute to the regional economic development of this area. And Mayor Tanya spoke about that similar approach this morning. So let's cut a long story short. You'll be pleased to know I cut out quite a few pages of this speech. So what I'm here to announce for 4 projects, and part of that is a climate resilience package. The total announcement package today is 12 million. And ladies and gentlemen, the reality of that is, in a way, we have an unfortunate circumstance which gives us the most fortunate opportunity to respond in terms of the COVID response. So I had the pleasure of working through the Provincial Growth Fund for the last 3 years, but today's announcements are actually more about the infrastructure play and an opportunity for your government to invest back into you projects that you know will be important for your community. It was only a week and a half ago that Minister Grant Robertson and Shane Jones announced the infrastructure package. And so I have them listed here, but I thought I might tease it out. So you, for those of you who don't know actually what's being announced, hopefully I get gasps of surprise, just for the Facebook Live. Anyway, so this is great news for the coast. And the first one is the Hokitika Airport. It will receive $1.24 million from the Provincial Growth Fund investment to improve airport congestion problems and to make room for shops and cafe businesses in the terminal. Construction work on the airport will create 21 jobs and will support the region's economic development and give key sectors the confidence they need to connect to their markets. The next one's a cool one. I'm hoping I'll be back soon to be able to enjoy it. It's the Hokitika swimming pool. It's the renovation. Will provide locals with jobs, support the region's construction industry, and boost economic confidence and community visibility of that progress. Well, it's just about upgrades and renovations. It's done its job for approximately the last 50 years. Is that fair to say? The contractor for this project will employ up to 25 people full-time for the estimated 6 to 8 months of this renovation work, as well as employ a number of subcontractors. The other one is the Fox River landfill spill, or the Fox River landfill. You all know all too well the spill after disastrous flooding events. This is an investment of $3.35 million, which will prevent any further incidents like these and help finish the cleanup of material washed into the Fox and Cook Rivers and out onto the beaches. The problem is the risk of further materials being washed into these rivers every time it floods. This project will remove approximately 15,000 tonnes of waste from the old Fox landfill and move it to the Butler's landfill. They will have then construct a new landfill cell at Butler's landfill in Hokitika. Work can begin immediately and will provide up to 50 jobs to local people through the duration. It will reduce the risk of erosion and further pollution into the river. We are funding a total of $4.7 million for roadworks on the Cron Street Road extension and footpath extension at Friends Joseph itself, and a sealing of the old Christchurch Road in Hokitika. This will create an estimated 30 jobs over the duration of these projects. And I know I'm speaking to people who have to deal with it all the time and know all too well, but Cron Street suffers greatly from congestion during peak and seasonal visitor times. This work will improve the visitor experience and safety on this narrow road by providing enhanced pedestrian capacity as well as extra parking. The last announcement is a Crown funding for flood protection projects across the entire West Coast. It's about delivery of a flood warning system for Westport, along with flood protection works and an upgrade of the Grey flood wall and the Greymouth flood protection works and projects in Hokitika itself and Friends Joseph too. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is me being as brief and to the point as I can possibly be. But the projects I've announced for Hokitika form part of a wider West Coast package of investment for the West Coast of $65.4 million, creating 258 jobs. And actually the final point I would make to that, and it's an incredibly important one, and it's not in my notes here. It's about the fact that we can be proud of the way that the region has worked together. We can be proud of the fact that it was the community that decided what projects should go forward. And it is about jobs, absolutely is about jobs. But it's about smart spending into our communities and asking ourselves as a government and our communities, what does productivity gains look like? What does smart investment look like? And how do we help grow our regional economies? And I hope you agree that these packages will achieve that. And in doing so, we've been having these conversations on the road. It isn't just about the jobs. It's about those men and women who at the end of the day go to the pub and have a beer with their mates, spend in that part of their community, go to the Four Square, pay the school fees for their kids at the local school, and just contribute to their community and being able to be proud members of their community as they work and undertake, a normal everyday life and the pride that they have in doing that. But it's, again, more than that. It's about moving that money around and making sure that all of us together can see a way forward. And so I genuinely believe myself and hope that you can see it too, that not only the West Coast, but all of New Zealand has a unique opportunity in the world to move forward probably faster and stronger than we initially believed when COVID first hit New Zealand. This government did respond fast, it did respond rapidly, and it kicked COVID in the butt as far as we were concerned, and that's given us opportunities that are unique in the world today. And so I thank you for your part in that, and I'm excited for this community and the opportunity that these investments and others present to you and your families. So thank you all very much for being here this afternoon.
Ladies and gentlemen, Minister Damien O'Connor Damien, I think more than a few words is necessary. That's a huge amount of money, and it's great to see you.
Kia ora. Look, thank you very much. I won't speak for too long. It's nice to have a couple of parliamentary colleagues here, especially those who bear a few gifts. Look, you might have noticed, I guess we've been through COVID-19. And if you're on the other side of the ditch, just a little country over there, you might be really worried about what it means. And we, I guess, approached this crisis a number of months ago, not knowing where this would put us. And I think anywhere else in the world, to think that we can have pretty much a normal community and economy operating down there below us was something that is rare across the world. And so I firstly say thank you for everything that you did, whether it was to change your business, just stay at home, or just kind of abide by the rules that were laid down from Wellington. And some of them weren't easy, but thank you. And that has enabled us to be in a better space than most other countries in the world. Doesn't mean to say we haven't got our challenges. And I guess the money that we put forward through the COVID recovery plan, through the growth and infrastructure fund, through complementing the PGF, that's the money that will go around in our economy and hope get us through to a stage where we can engage with other countries in the world in a kind of a normal manner. For a region like ours that has built dependence upon tourism, that's a big challenge. But I have to say, it's nice to run into people wherever you go, and they're from other parts of New Zealand. And they're just wandering through, and they might not have been here for a long time, but the money they were going to spend offshore is now being spent in New Zealand. So that's a huge opportunity for us. For the primary sectors, be it mining, temporarily halted, dairy continued on, beef, we're in a good space. The world is looking for safe product. We've still got good supply chains. We have people processing our food that don't have COVID-19. And that's a huge advantage when it comes to selling our food offshore. So the world's our oyster, kind of. But we could do with a bit of money for infrastructure. And I guess this is the opportunity, not wasting a good crisis, to actually, yes, take some money, put it into the economy, and put it into projects that are really going to help us move forward. And they're not all about economic activity. Swimming pool, not sure that I've been in the Hokitika one, but the people who live in this community have children and want to go and swim themselves. So it's really important that we put money into things like that. There were many more applications than the money can cover. There is more in the pipeline as well. So we've just got to keep working with the money that's come to us, make sure we spend it wisely, maximise the opportunity, and celebrate what we have, which is a wonderful country, amazing community, and an opportunity into the world that most others are very, very envious of. So thanks very much to Bruce, to Stuart, representing, as I say, regional and local council. It's great to be here, and we know we will spend this money wisely, I'm sure, to maximise the value of it, provide the infrastructure, and ultimately jobs for people who want to come and live in our community. Kia ora.
Next speaker is Mike Meehan. He's the Chief Executive of Regional Council. The most important announcement that's been made here today is about Friends Joseph. And Mike's going to tell us about what it means, what the dollars are, and how it's going to change the face of Friends, in my view, forever. We've been fighting to get support in Friends for 4 consecutive governments. Have to be, wouldn't it? And here we are now.
We'll spend a little bit down there.
Welcome, Mike.
Well, I'll keep with the theme and try and keep it brief as well. And the main message that I want to convey on behalf of my chairman, Alan Birchfield, who couldn't be here, is thank you. The money that's been injected into flood infrastructure today in the West Coast makes things that were impossible for the community possible. And if you look at Franz Joseph, like the Mayor says, Franz Joseph's been talked about for a very long time, and it's a very complex issue. We've had lots of reports, all that kind of stuff. Now we're seeing some work on the ground, which is going to be remarkable for that community. So it's a big thank you to you, and also an acknowledgement for the people that have put work into this over time. So we've had significant contribution from the community. Grant Gibb is here. He's one of the people in the community that really led all this. We also had the late Paul Wilson, who contributed significantly to work on the Waiho River. And what this package does mean for the region is that we're able to do those projects that would have been impossible. We can create employment, we can train more people, and for Franz Joseph, for the 18 to 24 months it would take to do the work, they can have people in the cafes and the pubs, all that kind of thing. So it's really significant, and we're absolutely over the moon. And I guess one thing that I'd like to say to you is that my chairman used to be on the casual board, and I think you did as well. And there used to be these kind of packages, and they're really good, and they mean that these things can take place and economic activity can thrive. And we would love that to continue as a partnership. And I worry that our two engineers that are here, Paulette and Brendan, hopefully in 20 years' time, they're not just talking to the new apprentice and saying, oh, we used to have all these subsidies and the government used to do all this. Hopefully this continues, because it makes a massive difference, and we just, so thank you.
And I get the chance to wrap it up, and they said keep it short. I'm not going to. This is a day that is the highlight of my term as mayor, and it's the highlight of probably my involvement in local politics. You know, the problem with Franz Joseph has been kicked around for over 15 years, and it's been a disincentive to investment in the township. Despite that, the town continued to grow, and investment in the tourism sector and accommodation sector is remarkable and a bit of a shining light. When COVID-19 arrived, the damage to the tourism sector was huge. Now, the project announced today will allow, and it's $24 million worth of rock. It's fantastic. If you love diggers, you know, you've got to be excited. The project announced today, it's going to allow up to 60 men who are going to have to live in the Franz Joseph area, potentially. They're going to have to stay in a motel. Now, none of them will drink beer or they won't get a job down there. And they've got to eat. You know, we're talking about a major economic boost for Franz Joseph at exactly the right time. And I've got to compliment the MPs here, the ministers here, because, as I say, this has been going on for a long, long time. Suddenly it's about to happen. The 1.2 million invested in Cron Street to widen the road allows us to carry on with the plan to move the township north, just slowly moving it north. The 3.5 million for the old Christchurch Road. I know I see a couple of people smiling here who have been involved every year for the last 5, 6, 7 years, where the residents complain about the dust. And it's really dusty. And the road, and we as council sit around and go, we can't afford this. It's a bit, you know, we've got to trim something off. Once again, we've solved a major problem. The Hokitika swimming pool renovation, one of our town's most used facilities. It's old, but it does the trick and people love it. And to throw that sort of money at the pool will absolutely upgrade it. You know, the digging out of the Fox Glacier dump, it's got to be dug out, it's got to be carted to Butlers. And as part of the project, government has allowed us to dig a new cell. So the cell allows the next 5 or 6 years of waste being dumped. So instead of that cost being dumped on ratepayers, government has met it up front. That's absolutely fantastic for us. And of course, it helps us to ensure that a repeat of the disaster at Fox when the dump was washed out doesn't happen again, because we certainly don't want that. Now, I know that most of you have been at the airport when the Q300 arrives with 50 people on it. And there's 50 people there waiting to meet them, and they've all got someone with them. You can have 100 people there. Now, each of the MPs here, Mark and Fletcher, Damien, have all been there when it's packed. You know, it's packed, but in order to, the airport makes a little bit of money, maybe, you know, 200,000 a year. So in order to fund a $1.2 million extension, it's mission impossible. It's not quite mission impossible, but it's very, very difficult. Once again, it's a practical project. It's practically funded, and we're really, really grateful. And it's part of an ongoing plan to continue to develop the airport into the future. And to the council staff who toiled over preparing the applications, and our CCO staff who put the applications together as well, congratulations, you did a great job. And it has been a moving target, but that's the world we live in now. We don't know tomorrow whether there'll be another bunch of COVID appear over here. It's a moving target. Get used to it, because we can adapt. You know, Westland has 8,800 people. It's a lot of people, isn't it? And today's announcements, well, we really is. And today's announcement is the biggest capital investment per person that Westland has ever seen. I want to note the projects funded by PGF, Shovel Ready and TIF Fund over the last 3 years far exceed the figures that you've heard today. You know, one of the issues we have is we get allocated. Do you remember 3 years ago we went to Haast and I tried to ring you? We didn't even have cell phone reception. We have now. And we've got internet down there. We've got new toilets in every town, and it's all been funded. It's all been funded by government. It's all practical, useful investment. So the message, Damien and Fletcher and Mark, we would like you to ensure that when you go back to Wellington, you convey a genuine thanks for what we're doing. This is not funny money. This is real stuff, and it will have a massive difference. My final thank you is to a lady called Penny Bicknell. Now, Penny's the PGF analyst and project liaison person for PGF for the coast. She has been abused by each of the mayors. In fact, she has been pressured because, you see, we're all doing in Bulla. Jamie's doing his best for the people of Bulla. And in Grey District, Tania's doing her best. And in Westland, we all do our best. And of course, someone has to balance and try and keep us in control. Penny, you've done an outstanding job. I really appreciate what you've done. And I didn't mean a lot of those things. You did deliver. So that's the end of the proceedings. Folks, I'd love you to stay and join us for some refreshments. But once again, it's a huge thanks to Fletcher, Damien, Mark, and the government, because there are some things that have come across the line here we will never get, ever. And they're in the bag. So well done, guys.